G-Magma, everyone, and welcome back. Also, happy belated New Year to everyone. I guess it still counts. I hope we had a good start into 2026. I'll be your host for today's session, where we talk all about the updated Lava Network roadmap for 2026. The agenda will contain updates on the stake mechanics and fairness. We'll also talk about pairing and routing, incentives and accountability, measurement, transparency, and then also finally the provider experience. I will be joined today by Ignacio, who is the head of product at Magma Devs, and we also have Nimrod, who will join us in a second as well to walk us through the agenda. And later during the stream, we'll also have a few questions from the community that we collected before the stream. So whenever we do these lives, please always check in the Lava Discord or an X. We always circulate a form where we collect your questions. That's enough of me. Now over to Ignacio. Buenos dias, buenos dias. How are you doing? Everything good?
All good, thank you, Cito. Happy to be here.
And also to Nimrod, VP of Research and Development, Magma Devs. Hello.
Hi, guys. Good to see you again.
Yes,
Good to see
I
you,
think
sir.
the Lava community is already in the house. We have Mr. Deepto, who also left a question. Ibrahim is there, G-Magma, everyone. So without further ado, I will leave the stage to you, gentlemen. I'll put myself backstage, and if there's any questions from the community, please leave them here in the comments in the live stream, and we will pick that up towards the end.
Perfect.
Now, Ignacio, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Cito. Can you put the slides up, please? Thank you. Thank you, guys. So as Cito mentioned, this will be a roadmap update. These are the items that we are already building at the moment, and we are planning to release them within the first quarter of the year. So one thing to highlight is that before jumping into the agenda, we are aiming to build the best RPC, and this is basically our North Star. This is what we are focusing on, all the items on the agenda, and on basically what will guide our roadmap moving forward. So as Cito mentioned, the agenda covers stake mechanics and fairness, pairing and routing, incentives and accountability, measurements and transparency, and then provider experience. This is all related to provider stuff, provider metrics, not validators metrics, just to clarify. And we have another member joining the call. No? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me perfectly?
Yes.
Yes. So hi everyone. If you don't know me yet, I'm Nimrod. I have been the VP R&D of Magma Devs for the past 2 years, basically. And what I want to discuss today is mostly like how we're going to bring back the greatness to the providers, and that will be the focus of Q1 for the beginning of this year. So the first, all of the efforts that we're going to do, like I'm going to be mentioning them one by one, essentially is around the fact that we need to incentivize properly a good quality of service. And for the past, I would say half a year, we've seen a lot of complaints. We've seen a lot of like providers putting a lot of elbow grease, putting a lot of effort into being the best provider that can be in the Lava network, trying to give the best RPC service, actually putting a lot of time and effort and money into doing that. And some of you don't feel like you actually got incentivized like correspondingly. And also with some complaints about gaming the system, we're going to address everything within the first quarter of this year. So the first point is tech mechanism and fairness. As I just mentioned, there were complaints about having the ability to game the system by doing the chain staking and moving it from one chain to another and pretty much just stealing traffic. The first measurement that we put in place, like super quick one, but it's not a bulletproof one, was to pretty much implement the stake cooldowns, meaning that you cannot just move the stake and immediately start to get into traffic, you will have a cooldown of 24 hours, essentially making this whole process of like stealing traffic being much less easy in that sense. You put in a key objective, eliminate short-term stay gaming. Exactly. Can we move to the next one?
Yes. Well, actually, I have a few questions in here, if you may.
Oh, yeah, of course. I thought you're gonna leave everything to the end. You can.
No, I think to make it more like less of a monologue to you and more like a conversation.
Perfect.
Yes.
Go
Cool,
for it.
perfect. So my first question is, today, for example, stake plays a very strong role in the provider behavior. We all know that. So the question here is, what specific problems are we seeing with the short-term stake hopping across chains? And how do cooldowns improve fairness without punishing long-term committed providers?
So I think the whole discussion is whether stake should be the main component for actually deciding whether you're going to get more traffic or not. As it used to be until now, we had the tiering mechanism, essentially dividing the providers into 4 different tiers based on their stake. And within those stake groups, they will get bigger or higher or like lower traffic. What we saw essentially, it wasn't deterministic in a way that we actually wanted to give an opportunity for all of the different providers that join the network to get equal traffic and get an equal opportunity. What happened at the end is essentially who had the bigger stake got more traffic. So it didn't matter if you have better quality of service, you gave better quality of service, or you gave shittier quality of service. What matters is if you have millions of tokens staked on you or not. We want to bring back like the whole idea of making Lava the best RPC in the freaking world, meaning we are only as good as our best provider, or in sometimes as our worst provider. And we want to essentially come back and incentivize those providers that really put the effort in giving the best freaking service. And that's, yeah.
No, sorry.
Continue, please.
No. I wanted to say that this actually comes aligned with some stuff that we started, I think at the end of November last year with the validators delegation. On the validators delegation side, we implemented the delegation based on quality of service of validators, which I know we receive a lot of feedback from that. As we mentioned, it's a program that will evolve over time. We expect it to find things that actually need to improve. But that's the approach that we are taking also on this side of things. We are focused on quality of service over overall, right?
Exactly. And one important thing to mention, the stake cooldown isn't the solution that we are going for in order to solve this issue, but it's an intermediate solution to have in place until we actually have the bigger proposed solution actually in place, which we will discuss in the next slides.
Yes. So I have another question on this topic as well.
Yes.
So how do we balance flexibility for providers who legitimately want to expand and reallocate stake while still protecting the network from this opportunistic behavior that we see?
Easy. We are just going to focus on good quality of service. And I'm going to further talk about this in the next slides. But
perfect.
The idea is stake is important, but not as important as it's used to be, or like it's going to be changed. The flexibility will be kept in that way. So you will actually have to give good service in order to get incentivized.
Perfect.
Simple as that.
Yes, that's amazing. Good. Okay, I will move to the next slide.
Sure.
Next one is pairing and routing.
Yes, and that's the point I was mentioning before. So what we're going to do is to remove completely what we had before, like the pairing mechanism with the tiering in place. And we are going to go to a different mathematical algorithm, the WRS, which is like the weight random sampling, algorithm. Essentially taking all of the different parameters that we are considering being part of the quality of service, like latency, freshness, uptime, error rate, and stake. We're going to normalize them all into one formula and give a score for each one of the providers. Now, one of the things is stake is going to still be part of the equation. It's going to be affecting the score, but it's not going to be like 90% only stake and 10% all of the other ones. And so we're going to give a different score for each one of the parameters. And the idea is that the score will be, of course, open to the public. Everyone can know exactly what are you valued for and what is going to move the needle in your favor in order to understand like how can you even become a better provider. That's one thing. The second thing is we're going to break the regionality barriers. Currently, you can have a provider staked in a specific location in US, in EU, in Asia, whatever, or global. Problem is, and what we saw with some of our dApp developers, that if you try to send some messages, for instance, in Ethereum in the US, because we didn't have a lot of providers staked in the US giving Ethereum service, essentially those dApp developers didn't have a good latency or didn't have good providers at all and trying to request the blockchain from the US. What we want to do is like not look at the providers anymore based on the region, which was something that we never really enforced. I mean, some people actually stake the provider has a provider from Asia, even though the provider itself was in Frankfurt, for instance. So we never really took any measures to verify your location, but we don't care about that. What we want to care about is latency. So if you have a better latency, having providers staying in New York or Tokyo, and then you send a message and you get like the lowest latency from whatever country you are, there is no reason to go to a country within the same continent just because it's within the same continent if I can have a provider that has a lower latency in a different part of the world. So we want to break that barrier altogether and really consider latency for that sense.
That's amazing. That's a very nice approach. Removing geolocations and focus on latency. I think that's a very nice touch.
I think that when you try to open like the network to more providers to come, you don't really know a lot of times who is behind the binary in that sense. Yeah. And you cannot really trust every person to, I don't know, to stake a provider within a specific region, but actually be there.
Yes, then you see the latency and you're surprised.
Exactly. Essentially, the network is permissionless, and we put a lot of measurements in order to make sure that whoever is participating is doing a good job, but it's not fail-proof. So we're trying to take a different approach. Instead of trying to force people like to do specific rule set of stuff and maybe trust them to be good enough, we're just going to be probing better and understanding how well is your provider behaving. So we don't care if you are in New York or Tokyo. We care about how good and how low is your latency in that sense.
Okay, that sounds very good, very good. So then, sorry, yes, I don't want to steal.
No.
There is one more. Okay. So I wanted just to highlight that the key objective on the pipeline and routing would be to route traffic by quality of service, while preserving the stake, as you mentioned, as a trust signal. Like the stake will definitely be part of the weight because it's a network ecosystem, right? Is one of the points, but we will highlight the quality of service. And I have a few questions related to this, so we can go deeper on the items. So with the performance first pairing, right? What signals would you say matter most in practice? Latency, error rate, uptime, and how are they weighted relative to the stake today versus where we are going? I know that you kind of repeated that, but I would like to double click on that.
Of course. Actually, it's a good question. So there's no one parameter that is more important than the other ones, because you can have like the quickest provider, but always returning like shit responses. And then it wouldn't make sense to use that one just because it's actually returning faster than other ones if the responses are invalid. The idea is of the quality of service, and it was always like that, is I would say is the crunching of all of the parameters together and trying to kind of like find the right balance between each one of them to understand what is considered to be the higher quality. So what we value as more important, well, it can vary as well. We can decide that for some time latency will be more important than availability, but then we will realize that the opposite is right, and then we can change that. The whole idea with the new algorithm is that we can actually propose the different parameters weights and we can be reactive to the community and see what actually makes more sense in terms of good quality of service.
Okay, let me highlight that point because I think this is very important. So what you are saying is not that the new pairing mechanism will have this fixed weight on different metrics. It will start on fixed weights, but as we see it working live on the network, receiving feedback from the community, receiving feedback from consumers, we will be adjusting the weights to find the perfect, let's say, balance to reach our North Star of building the best RPC solution.
No,
right?
Absolutely. That can only happen when we create a bit more of visibility over the actual, I would say, the under the hood doings of the Lava network, meaning that we will have a bit more of visibility on how the providers are actually acting, on what they were essentially chosen per epoch, per consumer.
Yeah.
Like to actually make sense on what was the routing decision, and that's something that was kind of existing right now, but I saw from a lot of feedback that we got from the providers that they don't really know how can they move the needle in terms of like getting more traffic in that sense.
Don't reveal too much because I think we have a few points down on the agenda that we will cover that. I have another question, if I may.
Go.
Do you think you can explain how the global latency the global latency routing works compared to the region-based routing, and maybe give some concrete examples of improvements consumers should expect, right?
Yeah, of course. In the end, it's not yet live, of course, and that will be proposed, and you will see all of the changes like in the open PRs. But the idea is, I don't really care where you put your provider at. If you have a free server you got from your grandma, you can put it like in, I don't know, like Denmark if you want. You can put it in Hong Kong. What we will check with the consumer essentially is building the pairing list, like the list of providers that's going to be chosen from to route the traffic to. When we probe for the latency, okay, we will probe globally. We will not only probe at the same region of the consumer where it at that moment. So if we have multiple consumers, we have dozens of consumers around the world. So the one from, let's say, from Dallas will be able to probe providers that are in Tokyo, in Singapore. It doesn't really matter. Of course, if the latency is exceeding a specific threshold, they shouldn't even be considered as part of the pairing list, due to the fact that they will get a very, very, very low score because of very high latency in that sense.
That's very. I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah, we assume it's going to actually improve the overall performance for the users, for the data developers, for anyone that is using RPC essentially, and providers will get more traffic.
Good providers will
get more traffic. Yes, because it doesn't matter if you have it here, you will get traffic from there.
Yes,
if you have a good enough latency, of course.
Okay, can I move to the next point?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. So next one is measurement and transparency, and this is what you were mentioning before.
Yes. So, okay, the idea is, as I said before, Q1 is the queue of the providers. The idea is incentivize the already existing providers that are doing such an amazing job. Also, like onboard new ones that want to join like more easily, but we will talk about this in a bit. But also, it's not only enough like to be saying like it's a good job, guys, good traffic, you are doing good, you are giving good quality of service. You need to give tools of measurement, actual measurement, to allow the providers to understand whether they're doing well or doing amazing. How should we do that? Benchmarking, metrics that will be open for everyone, that will give you essentially the scores that you committed, that you had, based on the traffic that you served in the past epoch, month, doesn't really matter. And that will allow you to fine-tune your work in order to improve your service, meaning that you can see what was the latency score, what was your uptime measured from different regions. Like the idea is to give you tools to actually know what you're doing and not just like put your binary up and hope for the best. And that's one of the feedback that I got from a lot of different providers, that the fact that they didn't really know how they can actually improve. Like, you're saying we want to have the best RPC, best RPC, best RPC, but okay, what can I do to actually become better? And the idea is to give the tools to make it happen.
Perfect. Love it. Questions? Why is real consumer traffic the source of truth for measuring provider performance?
Yeah, it's a bit technical. I mean, we have all of our consumers behind a CDN, essentially Cloudflare. What I want to do is to check not externally from outside of the Cloudflare, but internally from the consumer itself, just to eliminate another hop on the way and some other latencies that I cannot control. It's a very technical aspect here.
Okay, and how does this fare from synthetic benchmarking or testing the traffic, for example?
Yeah, well, essentially synthetic benchmarking is like an outside external testing. So you get the external endpoint, I don't know, like ethereum.lava.build, eth1.lava.build, and you test it from the outside, but then you don't consider, like, you don't think about the fact that you still have a couple of more ops because you need to go through systems like Cloudflare. I want to eliminate that. I want to make all of the benchmarking directly from the servers of the consumers that we're running, and to be even further closer to the provider themselves.
Okay, good answer. Okay, let me just check. Okay, let's move to the next slide then. Provider experience.
Yes, okay, this is a completely different topic. So alongside making sure that the current providers that are doing an amazing job keep on doing an amazing job and feel like they're being seen by the Lava Foundation and Magma devs, I think it's important also to allow new players to come and give a chance to actually compete on the best possible quality of service they can give. Currently, from some of the feedback that we got, it's not as easy as just coming, downloading the binary and managing to raise your provider. Like, you guys that has been here for a couple of years, you know how to do it by heart. Even if I wake you in the middle of the night, like with your eyes closed, you can have a provider up and running in 20 seconds. Newcomers, it's not the same. We acknowledge the fact that the documentation is not clear enough in order for you to do it like in a one-click deployment. What we want to do essentially is to support multiple types of deployments, such as Helm charts for your Kubernetes cluster, Docker images, directly running processes on your bare metal. We will have for each one of the different paths that I just described, a script that will allow you, a script or like proper documentation that will allow you to have your own provider without having to break your head in order to make it happen. That's something that we wanted to work on for a lot of time, and we will invest explicit time just to make it happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before asking the question, I will just highlight the objective why we are doing this, which is we want to make running a Lava provider as simple as possible. Like, we understand now the friction that it is to actually set up a node, the configuration and everything. We want to simplify that as much as possible. And this is also one of the key objectives that we have within the quarter. Okay, so I will go to the question, and this is particularly for you because it's from a research and development perspective. Where do you think new providers struggle the most when onboarding, right? And what concrete changes are we going to introduce to reduce the time to first relay served?
Yeah, sure. I think, well, there are two aspects for this. There are the ones like from the moment you want to be a provider until the moment you become a provider. And the second one is from being a provider until you actually get the first relay. And those are the two paths that we want to actually address in this queue. So for the second one, everything that I said until now, not being able to actually get traffic because you don't have high enough stake, nobody will have millions of tokens staked on the first day as a provider. And so we want to give a fair chance for the newcomers as well, based on their quality of service. Talked about this. The first part, what we saw until now, like couple of the friction points for becoming a new provider are, first of all, in the documentation. It's not very clear on how to run the provider properly. There are so many different parameters that you can actually use, so many options. And it's not as easy as just clicking two clicks in order to have a provider up and running. You also need a wallet. You need to put some funds inside the wallet. That's not very clear if you read the documentation for the first time, or if you're not that, I would say, blockchain native or node runner native in the community. What we want to do is, of course, change the documentation, make it simple as fuck. It will be fail-proof, tight. Everyone can essentially have a provider. The second thing will be using automated scripts for each one of the different things that I mentioned before, like Helm chart, Docker Compose, or running as a process on your server. But we will automate everything, that it will be as simple as getting it from the repo. I don't know, like doing a git clone, building the binary by yourself if you want or not, but just running the script should be enough. And we're working on that to make the DevX experience for the newcomers as simple as fuck.
Good. Okay. I just realized that one of the slides is missing. So we will have to adapt a bit,
Sure.
which is the one related to incentives and accountability. So I have the points on the slide. It doesn't matter. I will read them, and we can discuss them. Right? Is that okay?
Of
Perfect.
course.
So for incentives and accountability, what we want to do is to provide stronger rewards for consistently high quality providers. Again, highlighting the importance on quality of service. And then we will introduce automatic penalizations for sustained poor performance, meaning errors, instability, and timeouts. Would you like to add extra comments in here?
Yeah, so let's make a clarification. We are not going to implement a penalty mechanism that will actually penalize bad providers. We're not going to do it explicitly. We're not supporting of slashing. We thought about it in the past. We had data reliability that was supposed to do that, but then we changed the mindset. Instead of penalizing bad providers, let's incentivize good providers. Meaning,
Perfect.
You can be part of the Lava network. Everyone can be. It's permissionless. Do whatever you want. But in order to actually give, I don't know, serve CUs, be a good provider that gets like actual traffic, you need to give good quality of service. So essentially, you give good quality of service, you get incentivized. You give bad quality of service, you don't get anything. That will be the penalty in that sense.
And how do we ensure that these are fair? Like transparent, I would say, or resistant to edge cases. For example, imagine the situation of, well, it happened on the past 3 months, 4 months, like Cloudflare went down like 10 times during a month or something like that. So what I mean, that could affect our own providers, right? Not saying that our providers are, but like these type of scenarios, how that would affect our providers.
We're talking about specifically downtimes of like infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's a different topic that we didn't discuss here, but the team is also preparing a disaster recovery plan for when something as big as Cloudflare fails again. Fortunately, during the last breakdown, we weren't affected, at least from the consumer side. I guess that if some of the providers are running behind Cloudflare, they might have been affected from their perspective. But what we want to do is essentially keeping the upside, like the uptime, 100% from our side, meaning that we will do everything in our power to make sure that providers will keep on getting traffic regardless to the disaster happening in the internet.
Perfect. And the other question, again, aligned with incentives and accountability. To you, what does consistently high quality means in measurable terms? right? Like
Yes.
how we will be how will top performing providers see that reflected in their relays or rewards at the end of the month?
Yeah, of course. A constantly good quality of service will be consisted of low latency providers. You're giving a request, you're returning the request super quick. You're always on the uptime is always good, like 100% of the time. And you give, you maintain a very, I would say, fresh node in that sense. So your node is always synced to its best, is not lagging behind all of the other providers. Of course, things like, I would say, error rate affects as well your score. So if you're returning a lot of errors back from your node, things that are particularly to your deployment, not something that is returned from all of the other providers as well, that will be affecting your score as well. And what you said before, how can you actually be like open and transparent about that? That's exactly what we want to do, to make sure that our tooling, like we have the info at lavanet.xyz, we want to make sure that the tools that we expose the information that we have from the blockchain will be so clear and so easy to understand that you will know exactly what's happening. So nothing will be held behind. You will not feel like Lava is hiding anything from you as a user and as a provider. And as a provider, it will be easier for you to understand what you did good and what you did less. It will be very clear.
So to highlight and probably to give a summary, important points to take home is we will be focused on quality of service, 100%.
Yes.
Stake will remain important at a trust point, I would say.
Yes.
But the main selection would be, the criteria would be quality of service measured by the metrics you just highlighted. We will improve transparency on how are we picking I mean, not necessarily us, how the consumer is picking the providers, right? We will be giving monitoring tools for that sense, and we also want to improve, or not necessarily improve, but improve and simplify more to the simplify part, how to set up a provider, so everyone won't have like a difficult journey, onboarding journey into Lava provider setup.
Exactly.
Perfect. I think we are ready for the Q&A. Cito, I don't know if you have any questions for us.
Yeah, I think a lot of the questions were already answered in the presentation, but I think there's a general clarification that might also help for all the validators. So here's one that I want to ask to either of you. Could you confirm if all these proposed changes, especially the new pairing logic and penalty mechanisms, apply equally to all validators in the active set, regardless of whether they received a foundation delegation or not?
I can take that one. So I think there is a confusion there. This covers mainly providers. I mean, this is mainly for providers. Validators won't be affected by any of these changes, right? Unless I'm completely wrong.
Exactly. We're only talking about the pairing mechanism from the consumer to its providers.
Yes.
Can you maybe in that context, for people that are maybe like listening in, but not very familiar with Lava Network in general, the architecture, can you maybe like clarify the difference between a validator and providers?
Would you like to answer that?
No, go for it.
No, I mean, if you want to answer that, I can answer that. But do you want?
No, I'm saying go for it.
Okay. Yes. So validators are nodes on the networks that actually secure, process blocks, transactions within the network itself. Providers, or the thing is that provider itself on blockchain is not a reliable term, or not necessarily reliable, but it's not a recognized term. Providers is a term that actually serves Lava network. Provider is a node inside our network that do not, it's completely different of validators. These provider nodes basically serve data from other blockchains to the consumers that are actually running the RPC consumer of the Lava network. So those are the two different distinctions. I don't know if that's Nimrod, would you like to add any clarification to that?
I think you answered perfectly.
Okay.
If there's anything not clear about this, more feel free to reach out.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, then another question related to stake mechanics and fairness. As a validator concerned about long-term commitments and operational flexibility, I have questions about the proposed stake cooldown. What is the specific duration being proposed for the stake cooldown period? Is it days or epochs? And will there be any technical or operational exemptions to this cooldown? For instance, if a validator needs to move stake due to unavoidable node migration, hardware failure, or critical security upgrades, will an appeal or override process be available?
Yeah, I think as we mentioned before, this applies to the providers.
Yes. And to clarify, the cooldown that the timeline for the cooldown that we are looking for, right? Again, most likely we will introduce it first. We will measure feedback from the community. We will see how the actually live thing is behaving, if it is working or not, and then we will adapt. Initially, would be 24 hours. Based on the feedback from the community of providers, of course, we will see if that number needs to be adjusted or not.
Exactly.
Okay.
Good. Yep.
Do you have any final kind of words towards the technical roadmap? I think a lot of it was covered. Anything from your side that you think is important for the community? I guess we have a bunch of providers listening right now.
Yeah, I will add a couple of words about this. This covers this queue, and I think that it's very clear that we both in the foundation and Magma Devs, we want to focus back on the providers. I see as the head of R&D in Magma Devs, see the providers being the most crucial part of the whole operation. We're only as good as our best providers. If we don't have good providers, we're not good. And this is why we need to consider the providers as being crucial and important to all of us. And this is why we want to put a lot of effort into making you guys, whoever is here from the providers, happy.
100%.
Technologically happy, and in fairness happy as well. Because I know that for a while there was a feeling of general unfairness. We are addressing that. We are here. We are addressing that.
And to highlight all of the topics that we discussed today, that are currently under development, if not on testing, right? So this is something that soon we will be able to release, and soon we will be able to gather live feedback from you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Everything has passed the development cycle and is internally being tested, not on testnet, again, being tested. When we're ready, you can already view the PRs that we have open. Everything is open. If you have any questions, always direct them through Foundation. I'm here open. I'm available in the Discord as well. Feel free.
Yeah, you guys also have my contacts. So yeah, any contact on the Foundation, yes.
Yeah, there were also comments with regards to Discord. There seemed to be a few hiccups, but yeah, we left the links there. If you're unable to join Discord, maybe join our Telegram chat and drop questions there. Also, if you want to connect with Ignacio or Nimrod or get access to the slides, I think someone also asked for that. But yeah, thank you so much, gentlemen. This was really insightful.
One final comment that I think we forgot to mention. These update roadmaps, we will try to have them more frequently, not only from Magma in this case, but if there are any new contributors building on top of Lava, we'll bring them on. The whole idea is to make this more transparent, to be more open, and to share with the community and to gather the feedback, right? So I just wanted to highlight that we will do our best to have these sessions more often.
Yes. Sounds bullish. All right.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. See you around.
Thank you, Ignacio.
Thank everyone in the stream.
Bye-bye.
Bye.